Hello friends, and welcome to Granny's GodPod 49, in which I offer some thoughts on the subject of suicide, the selfish illness. This is not meant to be a fix. Anyone suffering should contact a professional. In the UK, the Samaritans have a free phone helpline, 116 123. If you're outside the UK, do please add your country's helpline in the comments. First of all, life is precious. We know this by our feelings, for example when we hear about mass shootings, etc. Christian faith explains our anger at injustice. God cares about every one of us, as Jesus tells us in the parable of the lost sheep. The shepherd leaves his 99 sheep to go look for the one that is lost. That could be you. It could be me. Your life is worth everything to those who love you, and also, whether you are a believer or not, to God. This is echoed in Luke 15 verse 7. There is more joy in heaven over one who repents than over 99 who need no repentance. Suicidal thoughts can be produced by a chemical or medical cause, and we wouldn't say, try not to think about it, or just pray about it, to someone with a broken limb. The profound pain of such suffering does matter, and it's not less than other kinds of pain. Seeking professional help is not a sign of weakness. PTSD, for example, cannot be managed by a British stiff upper lip. Without God, the suffering is still there, and all the universe offers us in our pain is indifference. I've been following a YouTube channel called Adventures with Purpose. This movement began when Jared Lysek began to use his diving skills to remove trash such as cans, sunglasses, and the ubiquitous golf ball from bodies of water in the United States. Then he developed ways to pull cars out of the water. He brought awareness of such pollution by making videos of his finds. Everything moved up a notch when they came across a car with a man's body in it, and their focus changed. Using sonar to scan the waters, they now look for people who have disappeared with their cars. Some are just accidents, but some are suicides. Apart from the emotional toll this takes on the divers when they find someone, it is clear that not knowing what has happened to their loved ones is extremely traumatic for their families, no matter how many years ago the loved one disappeared. But solving a suicide case does not necessarily answer the question, why? I've known of 4 cases of suicide, and in every case the effect on those left behind has been traumatic. And this is why I say suicide is a selfish act. Their families go through stages of grief that include denial, anger, and depression before reaching acceptance. Those suffering with depression may not always receive or ask for the help they need. And when they are in a real black hole, it is very difficult to look outside of self and realise what their death will do to those who love them. If they did realise the effect on their families and the people who love them, could it make a difference? Or is the black hole just too deep? Suicide happens at any age. The first case I knew about was the husband of a friend of my mother. He lived for his job, so much so that he was known for talking about nothing else. In those days, he wasn't allowed to continue working past retirement age. He had invested everything into his work and just didn't know how to carry on living in retirement. One day he was found dead in his car from carbon monoxide poisoning. I wonder, could his family forgive him? The next case, years later, was when a friend's nephew hung himself after some family difficulties. It is quite certain that someone can appear to be coping with their feelings, but underneath they are obviously not managing at all. This tragedy affected 3 generations: his children, their mother, and his parents. And it would be remarkable if this did not cause some feelings of blame within the family. But we cannot be responsible for another person's life choices. It is their decision. Recently, I have heard of 2 separate cases of relatively young men who have taken their own lives. Friends and family have only good reports of their characters, and they do not appear to have been in any trouble. Yet they found life too hard to bear. Why? In the UK, suicide is the biggest killer of men under the age of 35. In the United States, psychologists say that despite having far more luxuries than they did in the 1950s, Americans are no more satisfied with their lives. It seems that the more affluent countries have seen an increase in mental health disorders among their populations. Depression can lead to low mood, loss of interest or pleasure, feelings of guilt or low self-worth, disturbed sleep or appetite, low energy, and poor concentration. Unbelievers may measure human value, happiness, and experience by what they can contribute or produce. Here, work or lack of it may impact heavily on our well-being. In the Bible, Elijah went into the wilderness, sat down under a tree, and prayed that he might die. He had had enough. Then he fell asleep, and was woken by an angel with food and drink. God was right there with Elijah, encouraging him to eat, to live, and preparing him for what was to come. In the Christian perspective, we are created in the image of God, in a union of mind, body, and spirit. And we are loved. Know that you are not alone. This life is not the sum total of your existence. The promise of the Bible is that every rapist, every war criminal, every domestic bully, every person will face judgment after death. Proof that God cares about our suffering. Jesus can truly understand our despair, having suffered himself on the cross. But the purpose of his death and resurrection is to give us divine love and forgiveness. When someone tries to take their own life, they will find that the body has a natural instinct to survive, and those who have been saved in the last moments are often thankful and go on to live a good life. The prophet Isaiah tells us there was nothing attractive about Jesus' looks, nothing to make us take a second glance. Yet he changed the way society functioned. Not being cruel to people is hardly found in pre-Christian morality. Jesus values every human being, He loves you. He bought you at a price. What can you give him? Give him your heart. I limit my talks to an A4 page, which is such a short space for such a large topic. But I hope you have found something useful, whatever your situation. Do take care. I'll see you in the next one.